Hey, we're back. Political Self-Determination with Ed Alvarez from the Commission on Decolonization. And we're talking, of course, past 2 trips to the UN. Ed, the, the end of the day, where do we go? We know that what you talked about earlier, a national, international campaign using celebs to try to get the word out there about our plight and other territories' plight. We know there's got no money. There is an intent by Congress to give money to the Department of Interior for our education process to the tune of $250,000. We know that won't even buy a second in the Super Bowl. We know that's definitely not going to get any ground in trying to buy media ads and all this. Where do we go? How do we fund this? Please.
As I said earlier, the first thing we got to do is raise the interest here. Okay. But then also simultaneously the commission has to be activated, the board, and so that's all the panel the members have been chosen already. So I think we need to first convene the commission, the board of commissioners, so that we can begin the official business of the effort.
Well, and let me go back to this, because we need to buy into this ourselves first before we start selling it outside of Guam. Do you intend to go into the schools, the workplaces, hospitals and things like that, and talk about the importance? How do we plan to do it here on Guam to get a grip? Because once you start doing it, you're going to have opposition, not necessarily on the 3 statuses. You're going to have opposition because we're already having opposition about maybe a 4th option or another kind of option that the UN doesn't even recognize. But how do we go about that? Knowing that you're going to have opposition regarding that and wanting to keep the status quo.
We're going to have to expect that there will be other options out there that people want to pursue. But right now, the spirit of the Public Law 23147 is what we follow. So we need to follow that. So the commission needs to be convened. All right. Then some very fundamental pieces of information need to get out to the public. The first of which is that this effort is not something that we're fighting for. This Chamorro-only vote is something that was given to us. Okay, and the second piece of information needs to get out is that everyone on Guam, every registered voter, after the choice is made, participates and votes on the ratifying of the Constitution. So that's a piece of information that a lot of people aren't aware of. They think that it's only Chamorro all the way, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's not. Everyone on Guam eventually gets to vote on the Constitution.
Well, on a Constitution, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because eventually, once you get a Constitution, you establish your political destiny. You get a Constitution. It's crafted by its residents.
Right.
Its citizenship, and it can only be amended by its citizenship.
Depends on what's in.
Well, it depends on how
what's negotiated.
What negotiated to our political
So
status.
those pieces of information need to get out, so that that's very fundamental. And then the next thing is, of course, to continue the work of the commission. I am going to meet with the task force members. They've been at this effort for 14 years. They exclaimed to me that they have a presentation ready for an education program, so I'll be reviewing it in the next week or 2 to see what is it actually contained in each education program for each status option.
Now, you're talking about convening the commission. How close are we to getting a full commission now in place to be able to have quorums in every meeting? Because that was the problem in the past is having quorums in every meeting.
Right. Well, like I said, all the commission members have been chosen.
Has been chosen already.
We just need to have the first official meeting, and then that effectuates the.
And when is that going to take place?
Shortly after the governor returns. We've talked about that. We know we need to convene it. It's already July. And we need to convene it to start.
Now, in your estimate, and I know Governor Calvo was definitely looking forward. He was pushing for a 2012 election for a plebiscite. In all reality, in all things that need to be done, when you came back and you had to report to the governor, and you had to tell the governor, I don't think 2012 looks like a date that we can do this. In your estimate, in what you plan to do, and the education process and international media, when do you think, what's the earliest you think we can have a plebiscite vote here in Guam?
Personally, I feel if everything falls into place, then the last quarter of 2013 or the beginning, no later than the first quarter of 2014.
Or-
That's assuming everything goes
or
well.
maybe even push it to the next gubernatorial vote election.
See, you don't want to.
You don't
me,
wanna
we
mesh
don't
it?
want to mesh that in there.
Okay.
We want this to have its own election.
Ed, it's good talking to you. We're gonna talk to you again. We're gonna have you come in here and
Yeah.
answer all the questions. We're gonna devote a show
Absolutely.
to all questions to
Yes.
to all our viewers. Likewise, we're gonna have you in the radio show to talk to our viewers as well. What number can they get a hold of you?
My number is 969-0987.
Okay, and that's the commission's office right now.
Right now.
At your home. Not getting paid for it. Hey, join me tomorrow morning on The Buzz and Isla 63, your Chamorro radio station. I want to thank you again for tuning in tonight with Ed Alvarez and Commission Decolonization. See you next week. Take care.